Okay, so this is my art presentation, and my name is Harrison An. So just for a quick overview on my presentation today, so to get things started, I'm just going to do a slide about the artist herself, her background and her experiences. And then I'm going to move into my intro and thesis, and then I'm going to talk about the sculpture that I mainly focused on in the presentation, which is titled Her Secret is Patience, and then the interpretation of said sculpture, and then the cultural significance of it, and then just to wrap things up is my conclusion. So about the artist. The artist I chose to research is the world-renowned sculptor Jeanette Eckelman. Jeanette Eckelman has installed sculptures all around the world in places such as Singapore, Sydney, Beijing, Boston, Phoenix, Italy, and my hometown Columbus. She is a Harvard graduate, and she also did teach at MIT for some time. And then after she was done teaching at MIT, she lived in a village for about 5 or 6 years just to focus on her craft and just immerse herself within nature, which you will see why later in the presentation. Jeanette has received various awards, including the Greatest Innovators in America today. That was found on her website, JeanetteEckelman.com, and she was named an Architectural Digest Innovator for changing the very essence of urban spaces. That was found on the Architectural Digest website. And just for my introduction, so one of the first things that you would see on Jeanette's website is the quote, "Object you look at into an experience you get lost in." This is basically just saying that her sculptures is just an installation. It's just an object that brings people in and viewers. But as you begin to really look into the sculpture itself, it does become this sort of experience. She gains this experience through capturing the area's nature and putting it into just a sculpture. And she uses different lights throughout the year just to really hone in the experience of her sculptures. Jeanette Eckelman is said to utilize uncommon materials in her sculptures. Most notably is the galvanized steel cables, which is 15 times stronger than normal steel. She utilizes that in almost every sculpture that I looked into, especially Her Secret is Patience, which we will get into later. And then just to touch on it again, that was the main sculpture that I decided to focus on. And the sculpture has made its cultural significance through its interactive nature that is based on elements distinct to Phoenix and highlighting the city's rejuvenation. So to get into the sculpture itself, Her Secret is Patience. It was created in 2009, and it was inspired by the monsoon cloud formations and the saguaro flowers that are pretty native to the area of Phoenix. The sculpture is around 145 feet and was created from various components, again, most notably those galvanized steel cables and a lighting board, which you can see the sculpture is beautifully lit up. And the cool thing about the light system is that it changes based on the seasons of the year, and it also can reflect the moon formations. It creates shadow drawings. So the way the shadow drawings are made is because during the day the sculpture is so high up that on the ground you are going to have a whole different experience with the shadow drawings. The sculpture is always moving, therefore the shadow drawings that are cast on the ground are always moving and changing as well. And the sculpture was paid for by the city of Phoenix to emphasize the revitalization of the city itself. And it cost $2.5 million to make, and it costs thousands of dollars a year just to upkeep it. That has gained some criticism from the people of Phoenix, but the vast majority love the sculpture and have supported it since day one, even while they're making it. It gained a lot of support from the city itself. And so for my interpretation, as I touched on earlier, she does utilize different colors depending on the seasons. Eckelman uses warm colors in the summer and cool colors in the winter, which brings a seasonal and reactive piece to the sculpture. It just adds more to the experience of it all. The sculpture does include 3 separate layers, all consisting of that galvanized steel cables, which to me just alludes to its eye appeal and complex design. Eckelmann beautifully captures the region's distinct monsoon clouds as they are fixed in place, however always in motion. The sculpture offers various and ever-changing perspectives, which mirrors how cloud formations are in real life. And as I touched on before, they do also try to mirror the moon formations through the lights at night. And the sculpture is not always lit at night, which to me is another thing pointing to how nature is sort of unpredictable. Sometimes the sculpture won't even be lit up at night, which I think would be pretty disappointing if you're out of town and you wanted to see it and it wasn't lit up at night. But it does have a callback to how nature is unpredictable. That's why its light fixtures are also always changing, and how the sculpture is always moving yet set in its place. So for the cultural significance, the sculpture is an iconic symbol of Phoenix, as it does portray the revitalization of the city itself. Eckelmann has a habit to draw inspiration from the surrounding area, which just allows a sense of homage to viewers as it is based on their beloved city. Eckelmann was successful in trying to build a sense of community by incorporating a sculpture that signifies the city. It being placed in Civic Park allows for the sculpture to be publicly accessible, which just adds to what her mission is. She doesn't want anybody to have to pay or go out of their way to see her sculpture, because that would take away from the community aspect of it. That's why it's free, that's why it's huge, and that's why it's above a state park, just because she wants anybody to be able to see it if they want to. And then just again, her usage of different colors depending on the season allows for a connection between the residents of Phoenix. And so for my conclusion, Jeanette Eckelmann is an incredible artist who has received numerous awards for her natural inspired sculptures. Her Secret is Patience is a captivating piece in Phoenix that has cultural significance through its use of elements from Phoenix that allow for a connection to viewers. The sculpture does signify Phoenix's revitalization. The first thing on the Her Secret is Patience page on her website is the fact that this was the main purpose of the sculpture itself was to signify the city's revitalization. That's why the city brought her in, because they knew that she would be able to capture that essence of the city through her sculptures. The uncommon galvanized steel cables are lit up by differentiating colors depending on the season to reinforce the connection with residents of Phoenix. That's why it has that cultural significance to the city itself. And also just that the sculpture has many callbacks to nature. It is based on the saguaro flowers in the region's distinct monsoon cloud formations. And also that middle column that you see is lit up as orange is the rain that's just captured inside of the clouds, which I think is another cool callback to nature itself. And these are also some notable sculptures that I found through her website that highlights all of her main sculptures that are placed throughout the world. As you can see, the Noli to Mary in Milan, Italy, utilizes the same sort of color technique where, depending on the season, she is going to utilize those different colors. And then the one in Boston, titled As If It Were Already Here, again, also made from those galvanized steel cables. And then lastly, the Earth Time 1.26, that is in Munich, Germany. And then as you can see, all these are really placed in very public areas where people can pay no sort of fee to see these sculptures, and it's very accessible to be able to see also. And here are my references. Thank you for watching.